Hey everyone, Tony Stemen here, and I'm back with another research or recruiting tips video. And I'm happy to be joined with one of my great coworkers here at the Novo Group, Emily Hansen. So how are you doing today, Emily?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. So Emily and I are going to be talking about a topic I've been wanting to cover for a long time on one of these videos, and that is how to best facilitate the relationship between the sourcer and the recruiter to ensure client success. And so Emily and I have had the chance to work together and be successful together on several different projects. And so before we get started talking about that topic, Emily, just give us a quick 2-minute background on your recruiting experience and what's brought you to this point in your career.
Great. So I started with Novo about 3.5 years ago. I've worked in both a recruiter capacity as well as a researcher myself, and worked across industries. So have had positions in manufacturing, healthcare, professional services, consulting, really across the board. But right now I'm more so taking on the recruiter role in my work, and have been focusing on management consulting as of late.
Okay, fantastic. And I guess for our listeners out there, I should give a quick, brief introduction on myself as well. I've been in the recruiting industry for a little over 8 years now, and I actually took a unique career path and being completely focused on research the whole time. So I've done a little bit of full cycle recruiting in my background, but most of the time has been focused on research and sourcing. And I've been with Novo about 9 months now. And like I said before, I've had the chance to work with Emily on several projects across several industries, including manufacturing, engineering, management consulting, and information technology as well. So let's go ahead and dive in, Emily. I'm going to let you start us off here, and we're going to give a quick definition of what we believe both a sourcer or researcher to be and a recruiter to be. So Emily, I'm going to let you define recruiter, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think the recruiter, their main responsibilities are from the beginning, developing the job description and litmus test for our client, doing candidate outreach as the search progresses and interest generation, and then assessing candidate experience and their cultural fit based on the needs that the client presented with us. But their role really is acting as the face and point of contact of the recruitment effort with the client. So they're driving that scoping session, presenting candidates, outlining recruitment activity on the calls, and communicating market trends. They're also responsible for having open and strong communication with the research team as well as the project manager or CSD team on the search, and just working together to develop a good search strategy.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I think you did a great job of encompassing what a recruiter is, and I'll just give a quick definition here of what a sourcer and researcher, what their main responsibilities are. And so the first one I would say would be to be the peer to the recruiter. So really not just working in support of or against any efforts of the recruiter, but actually to work in conjunction with the recruitment efforts. And so in that situation, I'd be working definitely hand in hand with Emily to support her efforts. Also, really to master the front end of the recruitment process. And so that includes everything from just initial finding the candidates to doing some of the digital communication on the front end of the candidates, and not a lot of client facing in that capacity. And then I would say if there was a third key to what a sourcer or researcher is, it would be really to be that person who's responsible to stay up to date with the latest research tools and techniques in order to make sure that they're identifying the best passive and active candidates. And then also, like I said before, in some cases, even digitally communicate with those candidates or even over the phone to develop some warm leads. And so now that we've kind of defined what a recruiter is and what a sourcer or researcher is from basically our industry experience, Emily, let's talk a little bit about the top 3 practices or best practices to ensure a successful working relationship between a sourcer and recruiter. And Emily, that's one of the reasons that I've asked you to be a part of this call and this interview, is because we've had that kind of success and we've had that a successful working relationship to make sure that our sourcing efforts and our recruitment efforts can come together and really produce what our client needs. And that's what our ultimate goal is, to make sure our client is happy. So Emily, I'm going to let you go ahead and start. What do you think the top 3 things are to really ensure that good, successful working relationship between a sourcer and recruiter?
Yeah, I think the most important thing and why you and I, when we partner together, have found success is we have really open and frequent communication. We're sharing market trends from both sides, so whether it be the current competencies that we're looking for, if that pipeline is thinning, or if there's new target companies that are developing, you're always sharing that with me. I try to share if a specific work level or a specific title may be out of our range, or a specific organization really isn't meeting our competencies. Communicating that after I've had the conversations with candidates will also help us be successful. But having both the recruiter and the researcher be on the same page is so important, and that's why that communication really is key. I guess the second thing, and extending a little bit from that first point, is to share in our team's successes and challenges. So if, I had a phone interview and I thought the person was really great and noticed that you found them, I should share and update you on that. If you found a new company that has a lot of new leads for us, I think to share in that as well, and that way we can move through and celebrate those successes and also work through challenges as we face them to create that strong partnership. And then I think the final component, if we're looking at three of having that successful researcher and recruiter relationship, is treating one another like internal clients. Each person, we're both balancing different projects, different demands, and different workloads. So asking the housekeeping items like weekly timing on when update calls are, or when there's availability to do some research during the week. If we have some strong candidates in the pipeline, if there's a less priority for research early in the week and it could be done later, communicating those things and addressing those housekeeping items are important in developing a strong team relationship and a good foundation for that communication going forward. You also mentioned earlier in your description of the researcher is sometimes reaching out and doing that digital communication and outreach to candidates, and I found some researchers really enjoy that and some don't want to be involved in it in any way. So having those conversations about where their interests are on each level and what is really needed for the search would help, would be included in those items as well.
Okay, fantastic, and thanks for those points, Emily. I really like how you talk, I think it was your second point, you kind of talk about sharing in the successes and in the challenges, and that's something I think that comes from being a team, right, is we get to share in those mutual encouragements, or even if we get off of a heated client call together, we're like, okay, well, let's kick it into gear, let's do this together. So, so thanks for sharing that. If I was to give my top three, I would say, to really ensure that successful working relationship between sourcer and recruiter, the first one would be that the sourcer needs to be a part of the client conversation, right? And so that's something we do here at Novo, and it's also something I would encourage any sourcer out there to do, is don't just wait until after the scoping call and after the discussions to become part of the conversation. And that's something I like to do, is I like to dive in from the very beginning. Like, what is this client? What's the job description? Or even if we don't even have all that information, what do we know? So we can begin to form a great sourcing strategy. And one of the cool things is when I'm on the scoping call with someone like Emily, we're able to both take notes and both ask questions, and it really helps us get a better holistic picture of what the client needs. And for me, it really kicks off that teamwork from the beginning. The second thing I would say would be to communicate well with your recruiter. And Emily, you hit on this. You hit on this quite a bit, but really, it's the verbal and the written conversations, and communicating constant updates. I think one of the best practices from a sourcing perspective is when I'm on a project with Emily. At the beginning of the week, I'm sending her an email or dropping her a phone call saying, "Hey, what's the plan for this week? Let's make sure we're coordinating our efforts to attack this the best way." And then at the end of the week, it's followed with another update of, this is what I did, this is who I added, these are the places that I went. So Emily constantly has that communication for me, and I respect her position. She's the main face of the client. I don't want her going into the client update calls without knowing all the information. So communication is key. And then the other thing is, I think, don't compete with your recruiter. And I don't think Emily and I have had that issue, or many of the recruiters I've worked with here at Novo, but it's something I've faced in the industry, being on like SourceCon, being a contributor to that community. For example, I've had some people reach out to me and say, hey, we're just now establishing sourcing at our company. People view it only as an entry-level position. How can I show them that it's something that's more valuable than that? And I think that unfortunately, the recruiting industry, when we used to be known as headhunters, it was really competitive, and everyone was kind of competing just to get one up on even sometimes their coworkers. And I think one of the cool things about some of the technology and networking that we have in today's part of the industry is we don't have to compete like that anymore. We can instead work really hard and show our humility and support to one another. And I think that that's a great thing to keep at the forefront of the working relationship between the sourcer and recruiter, is just kind of be humble and view yourself as people that support each other. And it's someone that, and when I work with Emily, she's someone that deserves my utmost support, and I want to ensure that good working relationship, and what ultimately that leads to is success for our client in the end. So, Emily, anything you would add to any of those?
No, those are really great points. I would agree with you on all those.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, I hope this conversation has been beneficial for our listeners today. You can email myself or Emily by the email addresses listed on the screen. Now, I want to thank everyone once again for joining us here at the Novo Group for our sourcing and research tips videos, and there will be more to come in the future. Make sure you like and favorite this video, and follow us on Twitter as well. You can do all that through the links below. Have a great day.